In section 0-8, we're going to review the use of the Pythagorean theorem, and we're also going to talk about its converse, so the Pythagorean theorem. First and foremost, the Pythagorean theorem says that in a right triangle, the square of the two legs added together has to equal the square of the hypotenuse. So Pythagorean theorem should be something we're fairly familiar with. We've worked with it for several years, but remember it only is applicable in a right triangle. And if we have a right triangle, then these two sides, which are called legs, the legs squared has to always equal, added together, the sum of legs squared has to equal the hypotenuse squared. So we're going to use our Pythagorean theorem to find some missing parts and missing measures in these right triangles. So in the first right triangle in question A, what we're missing is the hypotenuse. If you ever have trouble locating the hypotenuse versus the leg, remember the hypotenuse is always the longest side and it's always opposite or directly across from your right angle. So we have our Pythagorean theorem that we're going to use in exercise to help us find the hypotenuse. So we know that the hypotenuse squared has to equal the sum of the legs squared. So what we don't know is the hypotenuse, so let's put in the legs. One of the legs, it doesn't matter which one is A. If I put in 5 squared for A, then my other leg is 12, so 12 squared. Or it's 5 squared plus 12 squared, and that is a 25 plus 144. Try that again. 144, which is the same as 169, which is equal to c squared. Now I'm just going to bring the c squared down. We really want to find the length of c, not c squared, so we have to undo squaring, so we do that with our square root. So I'm going to take and I'm going to write c equals the square root of 169. Now we just want the length of a side, so we need the principal square root, so the principal square root is a positive 13, even though the square root of 169 can be a positive or negative. In the application that we're looking at, the length of the side of a triangle, it must be a positive 13. And that's one use of the Pythagorean theorem. We're going to look at a second example here, not a lot different in it. We're going to be looking at finding the hypotenuse again. So in order to find the hypotenuse squared is equal to the sum of the two legs squared. We don't know the hypotenuse, so we're going to put in values for our two legs. 10 squared plus 6 squared. That's going to be 100 plus 36 is equal to c squared. That means c squared is equal to 136. And now we got to take the square root of both sides. So c is equal to the square root of 136. 136, square root of 136 is the actual measurement. If you want to find an approximate value of that, you can type in using your calculator. It's got to be bigger than 10 or 11, less than 12. So clear, we'll do a second. Square root of 136, and it is approximately 11.661. So normally we'll round these off to the nearest tens place, so we'll go 11.7. So using the Pythagorean theorem to help you find missing side lengths.